Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see some familiar faces both in the crowd and up here. My name is Nathan Liljestrand, and I am a board member with the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Corporation, and Visitor Center. And I would like to welcome you to tonight's Board of Education Candidate Forum. The Chamber is honored to host tonight's event to provide our community with the opportunity to learn more about the candidates running for the D38 board. For tonight's forum, we collaborated with the school district to gather feedback from the community to determine topics and questions. This ensures that our community's voice is heard and that we ask questions that are important to our families, staff, and community. After the survey closed, we reviewed feedback and common themes and then created questions that would allow our candidates to answer and highlight their unique perspectives. We also have established some guidelines to follow that I'd like to share with our candidates and our audience. Candidates are seated according to their order on the official ballot. The order to answer questions will rotate. Candidates will take turns being the first to answer a question. Each candidate will be introduced by name in seating order. The candidates will then answer prepared questions within a 2-minute time limit for each question and 1 minute for an introduction. Note that candidates did not receive questions in advance. We have student timekeepers who will hold cards that will allow the candidate to know the amount of time remaining for each question. Please welcome Sawyer Moore, sophomore at Lewis Palmer High School. And also with us tonight is Shay Cox, a junior from Palmer Ridge High School. They will be helping us tonight with the timekeeping. We are pleased that they could join us and represent our D38 students. When the time expires, the timekeeper will hold up a red card that indicates they must stop. As you can see over there, we got some colorful cards here. We ask candidates to stop at the end of their sentence, not at the end of your thoughts. If not, the timekeeper will stand to show that the time has expired. For answers, the timekeeper will hold a green card at the 1-minute mark, and then at 30 seconds remaining, they will hold up a yellow card. When time expires, the timekeeper will hold up a red card. Timekeeping will be strictly followed. The forum will end with a 1-minute closing statement from each of the candidates. The forum is a question and answer format as opposed to debating each other. Please do not directly address the answers from the other candidates. The purpose of this forum is to allow the public to get to know each of the candidates. What this is not is a political rally. No outbursts, signage, whether it be positive or negative, or general disrespect will be allowed from anyone in attendance. Should that happen, those individuals will be asked to stop. If they do not stop, unfortunately, they will be asked to leave. The event is being live streamed and will be available for viewing afterwards on the district's YouTube page at LPSD38 Media. The rights to the recording belong to D38, and candidates are free to share it as they wish in its entirety only and are not allowed to share an edited version, however. The Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Corporation, and Visitor Center does not endorse candidates, and we have an outside moderator to facilitate our event this evening. Our practice is for moderators to not live within D38 district boundaries, so they cannot vote and are neutral. To wrap up my remarks tonight, I am pleased to introduce you to tonight's moderator, Matt Meister. Matt is the chief meteorologist for Fox 21 News, and for him, forecasting is about the weather impacts on people, not the how and why. His forecasts focus on what the weather means for the people living in it. Matt's work experience includes serving as meteorologist at the CBS affiliate in Cheyenne, Wyoming, before arriving in Colorado Springs to serve on the weekend team at KRDO. His professional background also includes time at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder and a couple years in school public relations for School District 49 in Colorado Springs. His personable style and dedication to the Pikes Peak region have earned him numerous awards from the Colorado Broadcasters Association, Associated Press, and the Gazette, just to name a few. We are honored to have Matt serving as our moderator for tonight's forum. So would you please join me in welcoming Mr. Meister to the podium?
Thank you, Nathan, for that kind introduction. It is my honor to be here with you this evening. I would like to thank the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight, and a special welcome to the students who get to observe the political process tonight. And it's our opportunity as adults, both in the stands and as candidates, to be good examples for the students. So I like that you are right up front. I personally served as a communications director in a neighboring school district, as you heard, and as a parent of students who have gone through the school systems here. This is a very important part of what we do. So I'd like to personally thank the candidates for being willing to serve in such important roles. Tonight, I am going to introduce the following individuals to you. As you heard, they are being introduced in the order that they will appear on the official ballot. From Director District 1 is candidate Tim Bennett. From Director District 3 is candidate Ginger Schaaf and candidate Jackie Burhans. To begin our forum tonight, we'll start with Tim Bennett, and we will rotate which candidate answers first. I will guide us through that as we go through tonight. Candidates, please remember that you have 2 minutes for most questions. I will remind you of that. And you will have 1 minute here at the beginning to introduce yourself and to provide closing remarks at the end. So in 1 minute, tell us why you would like to serve on the D38 Board of Education and what personal values and experiences you would bring to the role. Mr. Bennett, you have 1 minute.
Oh, let's see. I was in the military for 30 years. I was a single parent for a good portion of that period of time. I raised 2 children by myself. My children didn't go to this school per se.
You just speak up. We can't hear you back here.
Oh. Can I recover my time?
Sure.
So I was in the Army for 30 years. I was a single parent, raised 2 children by myself, heavily involved in their schooling, although they didn't go to school in this district. I've lived in this district for since 2010. I lived in Colorado since 1973. I've been deeply involved in the community. I have some rental properties, and so I know some people who do go to school here. And so I've been able to deal with some very deep, close friendships with people who do go to school in this district. And just through the years, my heart has just gone out to some of those students. I had lunch with, I think, 5 of them this afternoon before I came here to talk to them. And I just think that my experience is going to bring a lot to being here on the school board. Thank you.
Mr. Bennett, thank you. Next, we will hear from Ms. Schaaf.
My name is Ginger Schaaf. I have been in this community for 2 years. My husband retired from the military from over 20 years of service. The reason that I have chosen to run is because we have lived in many different school districts and I haven't always agreed with the way that they've been run, or I've seen some that have always been very successful. And I'd love to take some of those pieces from those other successful districts that we have lived in and keep in mind learning from those other pieces of the school districts that we did not enjoy, and use those to help strengthen this district as, again, sorry. But yeah, so I just want to, we're really excited about D38. This is why we chose to retire here, because of the school district, and this is why we're here. Thank you.
Ms. Burhans, 1
Thank
minute.
you. I'm Jackie Burhans, and I've lived in this community for 33 years. I've been active in the schools for 22 years. I'm running because I believe in the importance of education and of D38. My son attended D38 from kindergarten through high school. I volunteered in his classroom. I joined the PTO, and I sold a lot of butter braids. I've also been on district committees for accountability, the Grace Best facility, career and technical education, consent and arts education. I've studied Colorado school funding, board policies, and state legislation. I've gone to the Capitol to support district initiatives and carried petitions to improve teacher pay. I've served on D38 bond and MLO committees. I started a Facebook group for the community focused on D38, and as a reporter for our community news, I've covered Monument Academy School Board for well over 10 years, as well as other boards. Professionally, I worked at IBM as a product manager. I ran my own IT business, and now I work at Tri-Lakes Cares. I'm running to support educators, expand student pathway choices, and collaborate with the community.
Ms. Burhans, thank you. Our first question. D38 operates 10 schools, including a charter school that operates out of 2 different buildings. Can you explain how you would help foster a positive relationship between D38 and the charter school? Ms. Schaaf, you have 2 minutes.
I believe that we should give great support to our charter schools. Not only the charter schools, we need to look at our other programs that we have as well, but we should include our charter programs, our transitions programs, our special needs, our homeschooling. There's a lot of schools that need and programs that need to be accounted for, and we need to build the relationship with them, because what our main focus should be is to create a successful program, whatever it may be, for the students, for our educators to put forth for our students, and for the administration to help support all of that. So that is what I feel that we need to do, is just create a good strength within all these programs and bring them all together.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 2 minutes.
Thank you. We have a great school district with a lot of different schools that everybody loves. When I see people online ask, what's a good school to send my kid to in this area? Every single school has a representative saying, my school's great, my school's great. And that includes the charter schools as well. As I said, I've reported on Monument Academy for over 10 years. I've built a lot of relationships there. I've been involved with the district for longer than that and built a lot of relationships here. I think that, as a board member, sometimes we'll have a board member be a liaison with Monument Academy. They are a separately run board, but I think there are a lot of ways in which we collaborate. There are services that the district offer. There are programs that the students and all of the schools can take advantage of. So I would like to foster that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bennett, 2 minutes.
I think the first thing is choice, and follow that with transparency, teamwork, and a measure of effectiveness. So if you're looking at choice, I think parents should have the ability to choose what it is they want for their children, 1. But 2, transparency goes hand in hand with that. So the students that I had lunch with this afternoon, I asked them a question. I said, have you ever heard of 1192 before? They looked at me with a dumb, look on their face. And I said, just Google it. I would challenge everybody in the room. Google Colorado 1192 Commission Report. If you haven't read it, it's the law. They said, well, I didn't know about that. I said, well, now you do. So you have to have transparency before you have choice so that parents can make informed decisions. The next thing would be teamwork. So once you look at that, you say, okay, well, what works for Monument Academy? Well, we can learn, D38, Palmer Ridge, etc., can learn from what works there, but vice versa. So there should be teamwork between the two, and that's a measure of effectiveness. So if you look at this and you think that it's either one or the other, it should be what's best from one and what's best from the other that works best for the students.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go inside the classroom, and we are going to talk about curriculum. And the question is, how should the board navigate debates around curriculum content, social emotional learning, and book challenges in a way that keeps the focus on student education? Ms. Burhans, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I think that every parent does have a right to choose what their kids are being exposed to, what books they read, what curriculum they might be going. Part of that is school choice in general. Colorado is a school choice state. You get to choose whatever school that you want to go to. You can choose to go to your neighborhood school or a different one if they have a different program that works better for you. You can choose one of our excellent charter schools. You can choose a private school. That's one way that parents have choices. The balance here is that parents have a choice for their own family. So when we talk about books and book bans, my concern is that not everybody thinks the same. So I think parents ought to have the right to choose what books their kids can read, but school libraries have to serve every child and every family. And our librarians have degrees that help them select the right books to support the curriculum. And interestingly enough, there's a state law recently that came about that says you have to have a policy on school libraries, and you have to have a way for people to challenge books. Well, District 38 has had a policy, KEC, since 2019, and they recently reviewed it in September. And I think it takes a very pragmatic approach. It does not allow for censorship, but it allows for challenges, and it has a great process for that. And since I cover Monument Academy, I got to sit through their board meetings where they actually were developing their own policy, because as a separate board, they can have their own policies. And again, I was struck by how pragmatic it was. Their policy allows parents and guardians to challenge up to 3 books, and any book that has been challenged and that they keep can't be challenged again for 2 years. So they're trying to strike a balance there of allowing people to have their voice, allowing parents to opt out of books that they don't want to read, but not censoring books across the board for everybody. And I see that as a very pragmatic approach.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, 2 minutes.
Again, I mentioned it earlier. If you haven't looked up 1192, you just don't know where we're headed with this issue. And you need to do that. And the next thing is, I grew up a long time ago, about 61 now, but what ever happened to the concept of get politics out of school, right? You're there to learn, but you're not there to have, the social and emotional learning. I had conversations with students every day about simple American history. They don't know. So which would I rather have? Would I rather have somebody who knows that there were actually 2 Gulf Wars? Oh, really? Yes, there were 2 Gulf Wars. Well, if anybody in this room is shaking your head, I can tell you that half the students that graduate don't know that. That's wrong. So you err on the side of safety with the benefit of a book. With everything in life, the older you get, the more safety you start to build around yourself. And it's something that young people don't do. But if you err on the side of safety, i.e., what is the ROI? What's the return on investment of a given book? And if that book says American history, or it's something that is going to directly relate to a student's success in life, the answer is yes. And if it doesn't, why don't we leave those decisions up to parents? Fair enough.
Thank you. Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
I agree with Tim. The parents' choice, leaving it up to them to where they feel that will lead their children to the most successful route is the way to go. We also need to rely on, as far as the social and emotional, we need to rely on our educators to, they are the ones that have gone to school, that have been trained, that do continuous hours of training during the summers. I know many of them give up many of their summer break in order to take more classes to better educate our children. And I rely on their expertise. I think we all have an expertise. We can't all be experts at everything. And so the fact that we are able to hire the best educators and bring them in to educate our children, that's what I rely upon. That same goes for those librarians. Their best choice for what the books that we should be putting into our schools, I agree with them. That is a great starting point. But from there, if we also want to delve further as parents and say, I don't care for this, that's your choice as a parent, that you should be able to have, whether you want your child to read that or not. I don't know that we should tell parents no, but I believe that everybody should be able to experience what they need to have their own success.
Thank you. Our next question is about strategic priorities for the district that begin at the Board of Education. And the question is this: the vision of D38 is elevating the futures of every student every day. Please explain how this statement resonates with you and your thoughts on preparing students for the future. Mr. Bennett, 2 minutes.
Oh, shoot. I think that one of the first things I would think of, I reflect back to when I was in school and some of the things that I see that are missing today. And that is that, and I think we're actually doing some good work. There's the annex going in over here with preparing students for life. and getting away from the doctrine or the ideology that says everybody has to go to college. Instead, just saying, well, how about you have a job? I have some of my most successful people I know are plumbers, electricians, carpenters, auto craft shop, that sort of thing. So one size doesn't fit all, and allowing a student to pursue. One of the girls that I talked to today, she actually graduated over here with a degree. She had an AP art degree, and she thought, wow, this is fantastic. And now she has a job in that same field. So when you start looking again, you look at emotional well-being, your previous question, one of those things is kind of allowing a kid to be a kid and find out what it is that you want to do. That doesn't have to be go to college. But then beyond that is creating the right atmosphere in school. And some of the, Dr. Heller was one of my English or my history teachers when I was in high school. And to this day, he and I are still in touch. That was when I went to high school at Woodward Academy, Atlanta, Georgia, for a period of time. And those are the types of relationships that we should foster so that parents and teachers working hand in hand can have a long-term impact on, say, student success throughout life.
Thank you. Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
Matt, could you repeat the question,
Sure.
please?
The vision of D38 is elevating the futures of every student every day. Please explain how this statement resonates with you and your thoughts on preparing students for the future.
Thank you. Yeah, I really, sorry, I have to center myself. The CIC program, to me, has a very strong meaning and presence with me. My background is in construction management. And so every day I use things that I learned in high school, anything from wood shop to drafting to anything, going back to your basics of math and science as well. And so I feel like these different programs, I happen to take a college route with that, but there are a lot of children that need to succeed in other ways. And college is not the path for everybody, I agree. There's a lot of kids that can do great things, and we need those plumbers, we need those electricians. We have a deficit in those spaces. And I think that if we can emphasize those programs, I think that is a great thing to do as well, to help build up for our community, to have those trades available and get them to stay in our community as well. We don't want to isolate them and send them elsewhere. Sorry, lost my thought. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 2 minutes.
So D38's vision of elevating the futures of every student every day really resonates with me. And I see that certainly in the programs it offers, but if you look at its mission and its priorities as well, and its values, this runs throughout that. The goal for D38 is to develop each student's talents in a safe and nurturing environment. And I think only a safe and nurturing environment frees kids to be able to learn, to grow, to make friendships, to figure out their pathway in life to be successful. And students need to feel safe to learn and grow. I think one of the priorities is valuing our people. And although it focuses on staff, it says care and respect for every individual. And I think that goes from student to staff to administrators to the community as a whole. When you look at the values that D38 espouses, they talk about integrity and that our people are genuinely authentic, diverse, kind, compassionate, and committed to a sense of belonging. And I think all of that develops an atmosphere in which kids can grow. And the programs are sort of how you get there. So the programs that are in the school, the arts education, which is a favorite of mine, certainly the Career and Innovation Center. It offers, programs in construction, in robotics, in aerospace and engineering and welding, just a wealth of things for our kids to try and get their hands on so they can figure out what they want to do in life, what they want to try next. And I think, I agree with all of that. Thank you.
Thank you. You all talked about school choice programming, and that is the focus of the next question. As we think about school choice programming, how would you help manage district resources to ensure D38 can expand the educational choices that are offered to students? Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
So the way I look at this is like managing a project. I need to know what kind of budget I'm dealing with, who's all involved, how many students are we dealing with, and this is the information that I need to have in order to appropriately allocate where we need everything. I want to know how many kids are like what kind of interest do we have in these continuing these CIC. I know that we're talking about this healthcare program that is going to be built into the transition or the CIC center as well as building on this transition center. So I want to know more about where our interest is with each of these programs, and if we need to, if perhaps we become more of a school that's more specialized in some of these different departments, if there's more of an emphasis and an interest with our students. And same goes for, perhaps there are charter schools in other cities that are focused on math and science, and perhaps we, develop programs that are more centered in those types of things with different, charter programs and different charter schools and such. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 2 minutes.
Yeah, this is one of the keen interests that I have, is expanding educational pathway choices for our students. I have seen directly the benefit of kids having access to all sorts of programs already. We have a lot of sports programs, we have arts programs. CIC is kind of the latest version of that. And the approach that was taken there was to talk to economic development folks, to learn what are the jobs that are important in the future, what are the jobs that are most in demand, to talk to the students, what are your interests, where are the things that you're interested in. So we've set upon this, first base of programs at the Career and Innovation Center, and we have our mind on what's going to come next. But it's a continuous process. You have to continue to talk to people about where do we see jobs shifting, because the jobs that were super popular 30 years ago that I did are not the jobs that kids today are going to be studying. And so I think it takes data that you look at, but you also have to take a hard look at the economics of the situation. How much money do we have to run what programs? So we have to prioritize. And my job as a product manager, what I did on a daily basis was to get stakeholders together, talk about their needs, their interest, look at regulatory requirements, look at the fiscal impact, and prioritize. Where do we go next? What do we do next? What do we stop doing because it's no longer the right thing to do? So that would be my approach.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I think the first, I'm going to give credit to Dr. Bohannon. He's my one of my I got a degree in finance, and he said, the first law of economics is unlimited wants and limited resources. That's easy, but most people can't prioritize. So I think as you do that, you have to come up with a litmus test, and that litmus test is that I believe all three of us, or two of us will in the end, represent you. So what is in the community's best interest, and use that as a priority to determine how the funding works. One of the things that's hit recently is assisting in special needs children. That's just a burden that's been put on the school system. Well, you have to do that. Well, how do you go about doing that? You have to prioritize that. My son is special needs, so I'm certainly sympathetic to that. But again, you have to work with Monument Academy and any resource you can. So the term diversity was used earlier. I like to consider it diversity of thought and problem solving. So if you can do that and come up with unique solutions to complex problems and prioritize based on community needs, I think most of the time those solutions kind of just fall out. And last thing I would like to say before I run out of time is that if the people in the room, when these issues come up as far as funding goes, if there's a debate and you don't get involved, then please don't blame me for making a bad decision.
Thank you. Our next question is about safety, and it is as follows. Safe and healthy schools is one of the district's strategic priorities. In what ways can the district continue to ensure and maintain safe and secure facilities? Ms. Burhans, you have 2 minutes.
So I'm going to start with the fact that school safety is really the first priority, because if students aren't safe, they can't learn. They will not be able to do it. And every parent wants their child to be safe. One of the things that we've seen recently is a vast increase in school shootings. I read that there have been 146 incidents so far this year, which is about 3 per week, including the recent tragedy at Evergreen High School. This district has been working for years on safety efforts. They've been devoting funds that they saved through a Schneider Electric efficiency project to add vestibules to every school. They've worked on they've prioritized upgrading communications, cameras, and having armed school resource officers available. They're doing all of this with a limited budget, but it has to address a lot of other maintenance needs, which is to say they aren't done, and it's a task that never ends and can never be fully completed. One of the things the district did recently, the board did recently, is it voted on specific goals to go along with its priorities, SMART goals that have timelines that are aligned with the district's vision. And this one was to complete at least one security-related project per year. A parent recently came to our school board meeting to express their concern about the physical safety in one of our schools, a school that was designed long before school shootings were a factor that we considered when we thought about designing our schools. This is really a never-ending process, and it's not done, but we have to keep on doing it. That's only one aspect of safety, but it's a very important one.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, 2 minutes.
Shoot. Well, I don't want to dispel anybody's feelings of safety at the airport, but I'll bring this up real quick. The most dangerous place in the airport is the TSA checkpoint. But they present that as say, oh, this is the solution. It's really not a solution. It just gives you the perception of being safe. You can talk to me later about that if you want to know what specifically I mean. But the key to that is secure and limited access, which, by the way, is what Monument Academy does. Monument Academy has key card access. So you have to step away from the school a given distance and then just only let the students in. Parents want to get in, they get in at certain times of the day or if they've communicated. So you have to limit access. And I think what Monument Academy did with the card key access is fantastic. Some of the diverse and productive thoughts would be, what about CCWs for trained teachers? That doesn't cost you a penny. You can look at guards. I think that the way you solve this, again, is with creative problem solving, return on investment, and just a little bit of common sense. That makes any sense to anybody besides myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
With having 2 students that are currently in the schools, I have, of course, shown up to drop off an instrument that has been forgotten and such. And so I feel like I have experienced or picked up a child. I've experienced what we currently have for our security policy day to day. And I feel that it's pretty strict, and I think they're doing a really good job with what they have set up right now. I've seen that there's metal detectors that the kids have to pass through over at the high school. And I have not witnessed that at the middle school, but I could be wrong. But they do have the secure vestibules that have to be released in order for them to come in and out. But I think that's something else that we also need to consider is the mental health of the students as well, because there's a reason that these kids are feel the need that they need to take a gun into these schools. And so I think that we need to also take a look at the mental health of each of our students and see why they feel the need of this and strengthen our programs. Our counselors are excellent. We have some school psychologists that are wonderful, and we need to figure out better ways to encourage the kids to feel comfortable to talk when they have these feelings with their counselors, with the school psychologists or the district psychologists that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is about staff compensation. D38 currently ranks lower than our peer districts in the Pikes Peak region when it comes to teacher compensation. What would be your priorities while serving on the board regarding compensation and valuing employees to ensure D38 can retain its most effective teachers? Mr. Bennett, you'll begin, and you have 2 minutes.
You're not giving me enough time to take notes here. So just in my conversations with some people here recently, I found out I think there were 2 teachers that left last year. The reasons they left were not because they didn't get paid enough. But there are teachers that want to move here and accept less money than they would be receiving someplace else. The reason for that is because of the atmosphere in the school. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think that teachers aren't some of the most valuable people in our society, because they shape our children. So we need to work, again, going back, look at the priorities, trying to find out how we can maximize that, the amount of money that the teachers get without prioritization. You can't do that. So I think you just have to look at the total expenditures, look at the priorities, focus on what the top priorities are, keep teachers in the school district. But I also know this: Lewis Palmer School District number 38 is one of the most sought out school districts in the state to work in.
Thank you. Ms. Schaaf, you have 2 minutes.
I agree with Tim that I think we need to poll the teachers. I mean, as he stated, and I have in discussions with some teachers that my children have, they have left this school system and they have come back because they do enjoy working in this school district so much. And I think that says a lot. But we shouldn't just plan on them, bank on them and just, oh yeah, they're going to come back. I think we need to show more value for them. And perhaps that's doing more things where we're more involved with the teachers. I want to have more committees and more conversations with the teachers and find out what is most important to them, because the dollar is not always the most important thing. What do they have the most value? What brings the most value to them? What makes them want to come to work every day and want to come back to our school district year in and year out? So I would like to have more discussions with the educators and get their opinions. Maybe they want an extra vacation day. Maybe we can try and help with those kind of things. Maybe they would just like a little bit more support. Maybe they like more budget for doing things for more class projects. Maybe that's all they need. So I think that we need to have more education, or more conversations with our educators to find out exactly what is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 2 minutes.
Thank you. I think that the teachers in D38 do a fantastic job and get a fantastic outcome. And they have not been recognized for that fully in their compensation. I've seen this district do a lot to try and improve things. As a whole in Colorado, teacher salaries fall below the national average, and inflation-adjusted pay has declined over the past decade. This makes it really hard to retain and recruit teachers. I mean, once they get here, we're lovely, they'd like to stay, but you got to get them to get here. And frankly, those are issues that are making it a little bit difficult. I have a friend who's a teacher who just left the district to go to Aurora, and she ended up making twice what she was making here. And she was an absolute treasure. So we have lost some incredible teachers. And the pay is one thing. It's not purely the dollar amount. It's a symptom of respect. It's, and pay is not the only thing that motivates people. My father was a statistician and researched the things that motivate people in work. And there's sort of a base level of pay that if you're not making at least that, you can't be satisfied until that comes up. But once it goes beyond that, there is autonomy. There is having your own decision making. There are other things that can be done. But we've made changes in the past few years in how we pay teachers. We've recognized more of their previous service. We used to only recognize, I think, about 10 years where other districts recognized more. That's been a big help. We've had bonuses. Those are one-time things that we can do. One of the things I found is that some other districts recognize more degrees than we do. My friend who left has 2 masters. One of the reasons her pay went up by double was because they recognized both of those masters. And that's something that we can consider is, what are other districts doing? And are those things that we should consider adopting that don't affect perhaps the salary level as a whole for everybody, but can make a difference in helping to retain our experienced teachers? So those are some things that I would look at. We have a staff collaboration committee.
Thank you. I do want to thank the candidates for adhering to our time constraints here this evening. And I want to thank all of you that are here in the room for being respectful listeners. Our next question is about gender and student inclusion. The community has expressed interest in how D38 schools navigate gender inclusion and student support involving the use of bathrooms and locker rooms, and safety and fairness in sports. As a board member, what policy recommendations on these topics would you support? Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
I do not believe that the opposite sex belongs in a different it belongs in my bathroom. I believe that you should go to the bathroom, to the locker room that you, based on the gender that you are assigned at birth. I don't believe that the boys should compete in girls' athletics. They are physiologically different. It's not an equal competition. As far as the restrooms in a day-to-day use, I don't believe that they should be in. I don't believe they should be in there. As far as educating, it's a topic that we can't not talk about. It's in the world. I think that it needs to be discussed, but not necessarily as part. I think it should be discussed as part of a critical thinking path, a way to discuss things as teach our students how to discuss them and think about everything involved with everything. And so just, I don't think that it should be avoided in the school necessarily, but I don't think that it should be a main point of focus. But it can be used as a teaching path, to teach them to think critically. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Certainly every parent wants their kids to be safe at school. Every parent wants their kids to also feel welcome and to have access to opportunities to enrich their education and prepare for their future. And I keep coming back to D38's vision of elevating the futures of every student every day. That makes this a sort of challenging thing. Recently, the school board voted unanimously not to join in on the CHASA lawsuit, but they issued a statement supporting all student athletes and ensuring that all student athletes will feel safe and have a fair environment. The district has tools already to address this on a case-by-case basis. They already can make decisions on eligibility based on strength. They already are sensitive to providing appropriate spaces as needed. There's a lot that's up in the air legally on this, and I think we're waiting for things to settle down before we settle on a specific policy. Of course, the district will follow the legal regulations. One of the things that I think concerns me when we talk about this topic is unintended consequences. In initial discussion several years ago at another school, parents were talking about this, and some of the moms said, but wait, my girl is on the boys' football team. My son plays hockey and had girls on his team. I ran on the boys' cross-country team. These are opportunities I wouldn't have had available to me if we are going to strictly segregate without giving some deep thought to that. Right now we have CHASA rules, we have the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, we have federal executive orders and funding risks, and we have a couple of Supreme Courts going. So, letting that settle out before we decide what the policy recommendations are, I think is pretty pragmatic. I'm very concerned that when we start to demonize groups and when people are divided into groups because of inherent characteristics or differences, whether it's physical, whether it's how they look, whether it's how they express themselves, a lack of knowledge can lead to fear or fear mongering.
Thank you.
which in
We're out
turn
of
leads-
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, 2 minutes.
Well, I every time I hear about this, I always think about my son, who is not, he does not have a gender issue, but I just Googled real fast while we were talking about this. Let's see, social anxiety disorder, general anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD, past humiliation, autism spectrum, ADHD, and the list goes on. So it's like, do we ignore those people? My son had that issue. Do we ignore him because he doesn't have that one specific issue? Is that the only one that we care about? What about all the others? And you take that and you step back. And I talked to people this week and I said, why don't we just do the Home Depot rule? You ever been to Home Depot? Hope you have. That's like my second home. They have a bathroom for men, a bathroom for women, and then they have a separate bathroom for, changing babies or whatever. And I'll be honest with you, that's the one I use because I've been in the men's bathroom and I don't want to go in there. So it shouldn't be, it's like, wow, you really want to go in there? I don't think so. The other thing is transparency and community representation. And what I mean by that is that I played varsity soccer, varsity tennis, rugby, et cetera, et cetera. I was involved in sports. I would challenge any woman to get on the field with me with anything. It's not going to work. So trying to go in and say, well, for one reason or another, we think this is a good idea. It's not. Men are in men's sports, women are in women's sports, and the very least of which, it's when you hand a trophy to somebody, and it's a guy who is transitioning, and he beats a woman in a woman's sport. Well, did he earn it? I can tell you that if I started transitioning tomorrow, I could probably go out and I'm 61 years old, and I could still beat a lot of people. So no, the answer is women do not belong in men do not belong in women's sports. If they did, women would be trying to get in men's sports, which I don't see that happening either. So am I read? That's the end of my sentence.
Thank you. Our next topic is about trust and transparency. As a board member, what specific steps would you take to build community trust to ensure transparency while avoiding micromanagement and still holding the district accountable? Ms. Burhans, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I think it's very important to build relationships within the community. And there are a lot of ways to do that. I've been in the community for many years as a reporter and a photographer for our community news. That means I go to the meetings, I meet the people, I talk to them, I hear what they have to say in the context of their work, but also we have conversations afterwards. I go to the community events again, and my presence is there, and I talk to people and I get to know them. You know, I have been communicating through the articles that I write, through the Facebook page that I run. That is my way of building relationships. And I think building relationships is how you build community. And transparency is just being honest with people to the extent that you can. Sometimes you're legally restricted from saying certain things, and that's fine too. In terms of not micromanaging, I think it's important to understand what the board role is. That we do policy governance. We govern by policy. We have one employee, and that is the superintendent, and she is in charge of implementing the mission, the vision, the goals, and it is not our job to micromanage. We can listen, we can have discussions, we can have an open mind, we can be respectful, but we cannot micromanage, and I think that's how boards should operate. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, 2 minutes.
I think the first thing that comes to mind Jackie just mentioned was transparency, but I think that just one of life's lessons is transparency means being honest, but I can talk to you all day long and know something and not tell you, and that's a lie of omission. I mentioned 1192. I'm going to say it again because you need to go out and look at it, because if you haven't, there's information in there you need to know. But when that was implemented, were the parents told? So if there's a state guideline that comes down, I think it becomes incumbent upon the school district to let parents know what's going on in school. Otherwise, as a parent, you say, well, what is going on in school? So if you allow parents to know, and then that'd be number one. And the other is there should be a parent-teacher team. And I talked to somebody today and I said, yeah, well, that works great. But what happens if you have parents that don't want to be involved? Well, then you have to have, counselors, et cetera, take that role. But parents, and I actually would applaud everybody in the room for being here, because I would venture to guess that most of you were involved in your children's education. But that's the key to success with that transparency, getting to know what's going on. And how do you foster that? I think that, what's your name? I just met you tonight. Yeah. She and I need to sit down and have a conversation on how to build that parent-teacher team, because that is one of the ways that you actually build teamwork. So there you have it. There you go. And we're going to have lunch this week.
Thank you. Ms. Schaaf, you have 2 minutes.
I think that if we could strengthen our advisory committees, I know that we have a couple of them that are community and parent-based, and I know that, I don't feel enough of that community advisory and parent advisory information is relayed and shared and emphasized enough with the school board. So I feel like I would like to have more involvement from those committees and their reports, and more strength and presented to the school boards. I think the parent relationships with the teachers, I love all these new programs that we have with the Canvas, and the I get a little information, oh, your kid didn't turn something in. Whoops, okay, but I can be involved with my student right away and say, okay, hey, we need to get this done. Or, hey, you got 100 on your test. Way to go. So I love having all of this communication, these tools that we have. So I would love to see more things like that. Now, ways to incorporate the community with that, I'm not quite sure yet, but I'd be up for discussing it and finding out more about how we could bring them in on that.
Thank you. Our next question is on the topic of funding, and it is this. D38 receives the majority of its funding from the Colorado School Finance Act, with the majority of funds allocated from state tax revenue, which does not and will not position D38 competitively among peer districts based on student demographics. Given this challenge, how would you as a board member advocate for the prioritization of resources to support student learning? Mr. Bennett, we'll begin with you.
Well, again, my learning curve has been very steep lately. And there's an MLO, there's an old MLO. People have been talking about having a new MLO, but they look at the new MLO without contemplating getting rid of the old MLO. So if you do that and just look at what is it that the school needs without any of the subterfuge from historical nature, short of that, I'm heavily involved in politics and know, at least on a first name basis, I'd say at least 3/4 of every representative in the state. So I discuss some of these things with them, and they do not allocate funds based on headcount, which is something that I can push and will push outside the district, because facilities should not headcount. If we were just to do funding across the state based on headcount, then I don't think D38 would have any issues.
Thank you. Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm new to this area, and I've been hearing about the history of the MLOs. And a lot of them, it seems that there has just not been enough transparency with the community, and there should be more information shared. And it seems like there's some agendas sometimes that have been tried to push through with some of these. And I'd like to learn more about these. I've learned about some of the past from some of the great people I've been meeting along this campaign trail. And I look forward to learning about more of them, because we don't want to repeat history to repeat itself, because it hasn't always worked out in our favor. As far as the tax, I have also had it's based off of head count as well. And I want to just find out what we can do to, if it is based off head count, then what can we do to boost our numbers? I have heard that we have a number of kids that don't go to our school district. They have left our school district, but I have that still live here. But I've heard that a lot actually also come back in. So I would like to find out more about why these people are leaving and what is bringing these people in, and what we can do to keep some of these people in to improve our head counts, so that we can gain more of these tax dollars to improve, and resources to improve our facilities and benefit our teachers, benefit our programs, benefit the students in general.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, this is a big subject that I've been studying for years and keep studying, because it's hard to grasp it all. But you're right. Right now, what we get in the majority is state funding. We have some local funding from property taxes, and just a little bit of federal funding as well. The interesting thing about how funding works is the state sets the per pupil funding, and then they look at how much we've raised locally through local taxes, and they backfill what we don't make. An interesting outcome of this is people see lots of houses being built, and they're like, well, we should be getting a lot more money for the schools. No, because the state will just backfill less. Even when Buc-ee's was being talked about generating a lot of sales tax for the schools, well, then the state says, great, you've got more money. We're not giving you this. We have other uses for it. So that sort of thing doesn't get us more money. What does get us more money is if we were to pass an MLO or a bond. I've been on many MLO or bond committees. I think we've given a lot of information. We've reviewed the history quite a bit. We've addressed concerns and issues. We're just not there yet as a community. But that's the power. You know, if you are to want to talk about local control, the way you get local control is local funding, because the money you raise locally does not have to be shared across the whole state. The bonds you raise locally pay for schools in your district. The MLOs you raise locally go to all of the schools, including the charter schools in the district, for whatever purpose they might be. The last time we were trying to raise money through an MLO was for teacher pay, and we came a lot closer than we had in the past. I did have one board member share with me that she thought that D38 would only pass a bond or an MLO if it was initiated by the people. But I will do everything I can do to advocate at the state level with legislators, through initiatives, locally through communication with the community.
Thank you. Our next question is regarding the varied needs of student learners. As a board member, how can you help D38 continue to meet the diverse needs of all learners, including those who are identified as gifted and talented, have special needs, or are English learners? Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
I think that we have some strong programs now, but they can always be better. I am not aware of how much of our ESL program a demographic is. So that's something I would need to look more into. So I can't speak to that completely. But as far as the gifted programs, and I know there's different special needs programs, I feel that we have great educators in all of those programs. And I think that our continued support of those educators in helping them to build their educational of what the educational backgrounds as far as their current what's the current mindset, you know, all these different trainings that we support and all of these different continuing education courses. I just want to support that so much with the teachers. If there's, say, some sort of conference or training, I want to do whatever I can to get them there so that they can do that to help improve our programs. And along with that is going to come probably more funding needed for those. And so that's going to go back to our financials and our transparency of going into our programs and seeing where we can find funds to help build up these programs and strengthen them and strengthen our educators within these programs as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 2 minutes.
Thank you. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. Students do have a variety of learning needs and different approaches that work best for them. There may be gifted students who need more challenging materials, or students who do better with experiential learning rather than classroom or lab work. Students can have physical, emotional, or learning challenges. We have committees in the district called GELT for the Gifted Education Leadership Team, SEAC for Special Education, and as a board member, I would want to rotate through those committees and be a part of them to learn. Some of these areas I know very well because they affected my family. Others I know less well and have lots to learn about. So that would be very important. In terms of English language learners, I got to participate through my work at Tri-Lakes Cares in a celebration of international culturals in D38 at Lewis Palmer High School. It was a fabulous event. And I was, you know, it's a learning opportunity to learn how many languages are spoken in our districts, how many people come from different cultures. So that's one of the great things, though, about school choice, is it gives you the ability to choose the school that meets your need. We have programs in some schools that we don't have in other schools. And parents can say, you know, my school has severe special needs. That's not in my neighborhood, but that's over in a different school. I'm going to send my school there. Parents do choose sometimes to go out of district if none of the district schools meet their needs, just as parents in other districts bring schools into our district. Choice means choice in, choice out, choice among neighborhood schools as well. And so as a board member, I would learn about all of the programs that we have or that we refer people to. And I would listen to parents to understand what their needs are and how well they're being met. Are there new needs? Are there improvements that we need? Or different ways that we need to approach what we've done in the past.
Thank you. 2 minutes for Mr. Bennett.
A magnet program is one of the things that I grew up with. My father was stationed in Atlanta, and I went to school there, and a German was the reason that I got to go to the school that I went to. Interestingly enough, I went to Cheyenne Mountain as well, and Frau Bauer was my teacher. But I went to Cheyenne Mountain because they had German. So I was at Fountain Fort Carson Schools, and they didn't have German. So I say you coordinate with other schools. So D38 doesn't have to be the one be-all catch-all for every single special interest. But if we work with other school districts, which is exactly what they did in Atlanta, which is what they used to do here in Colorado Springs in El Paso County, which is what allowed me to go to Cheyenne Mountain, is you might have a language school, you might have a science school, you might have a different school, so that you have gifted students that they can go through basically their core curriculum at one school and then go to another school. My daughter runs a 501c4, and she's a science student. They say this in the most loving of all ways, Ashley. She's kind of a freak. So when it comes to science, she just loves it all day long, and she'll talk your ear off. But she works with UCCS to try to find tutors for high school students. So you have a school right down the road that has a lot of expertise in it, and quite frequently it just sits there and rots on the vine because we don't do the simple job of just communicating and coordinating to get those students who've had an additional 4 years of education to come back into our high schools and do some tutoring with students. So if you're gifted and you can actually carry on a conversation in physics with a 4-year student in college, I challenge you to tell me that that's not challenging enough. And the last thing is that the COLA, the higher cost of living. So we just talked about funding, but if you live in a higher cost of living area, that's one of the adjustments. They actually give you more money per head count. Well, that means that places like Cheyenne Mountain, they get more money than other places in the school district. So that's the last of my sentence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At different points in the evening, you all have mentioned the tradition of academic excellence in D38. As a board member, how would you continue to promote this level of excellence in all D38 schools, including preparing students for college, trades, or the workforce? Ms. Burhans, you'll begin, 2 minutes.
I think that D38 has been known for its academic excellence, and it's achieved that sometimes in the face of big challenges. There are big challenges across education. But I think that we continue to strive for that. We strive for achievement. We strive for growth. We pay attention to every student that is out there and what their needs are. We create innovative programs like the Career and Innovation Center. We have programs inside the school that focus on academic excellence. I think that's something the board needs to look at on a regular basis. They need to look at how we're doing in measurements. I think sometimes you need to think a little bit beyond just the raw numbers that you sometimes get. It's like, how are things changing? Are they changing the way things are measured? Are we measuring the right things? For example, some of the measures that we talk about are career and post-secondary readiness. And we measure that a little bit different than the state does, because we have students that go off and do continuing education that are taking college level courses while they're still in high school and getting college credit, or taking AP tests which can get them college credit. So all of those are things that I support. I support expanding our programs at the Career and Innovation Center. And I just think we need to never let our eyes get off the ball, but we need to look at the real value that we're creating and the real learning that is happening, and sort of, keep an eye on those numbers. But kids are not numbers. Kids are not widgets. Kids are whole people. Some kids don't do that well in high school, go off to excel in college. Some kids excel in high school, and that was their glory days, But everything that we can do to prepare our kids to succeed, to achieve academic excellence, and at the end of the day, to get out of school and go out and lead a life that is productive, that is fulfilling for them, that's to the benefit of the kids, to their families, to the community, and really to our whole country.
Thank you. 2 minutes for Mr. Bennett.
First thought that comes to mind is measure performance, measure effectiveness, and you can do something really well, but not be very effective. And if we focus on being effective, you have to go back and say to yourself, you have to maintain what you're doing well and improve on what you need to do, improve on the things you need to improve on. And I don't think there's any better way to figure that out than to go back and query the graduates. Again, I had lunch with 5 students this afternoon, their previous graduates, and I was very disappointed I had to get up and leave, because I could have sat there all afternoon taking notes on the feedback that they were providing me. And before you can do any of that, you have to define success. So when you look at what is success, look at what, a graduate 4 or 5 years from now, where are they? You can't say, did we succeed? Could somebody graduated? You have to look at where are they several years from now and say, well, how well did we do? And then again, I just go back, I'm reiterating, but internships are key. I actually have, I think, 2 or 3 people that somebody might call charity cases. I call them interns. They work in some of my endeavors, and I do internships with them, and they're learning and learning and learning and learning. So if you can define success, use internships, i.e. incentivize learning, maintain what you do well, improve what you need to improve on, focusing on feedback from graduates and what's effective. And I think if you can do those things, I'll go ahead and stop on the yellow card.
Thank you. Ms. Schaaf, 2 minutes.
I think that academic excellence needs to be a measure of a well-rounded student, not just the grades. The CTE programs are excellent ways. I mean, we have some students, yes, we have the aerospace, but then we also have welding as well. And I think those are great ways to include everybody in those programs, but something that we're also not talking about are all the different clubs that we have, the extracurriculars, the Key Club, and things like that, that help promote all these extra things that the kids can do to help form them to be people that want to help the community outside of the school, after school. If we start getting their community involvement when they're in the school now, it will just become like a lifelong passion for them to want to continue to help with the community. I think that other things that we also have going well for us are our great homeschooling programs. And I mean, it's crazy when I'll talk with some of the homeschooling programs and they're like, yeah, my daughter's in 9th grade, but she's taking senior AP, whatever. And I'm like, wow, that is incredible. So I find that stuff really exciting. And I think that's a great way that I wish there was a better way that we could measure this. But I think we have great programs within our district already. Our band programs, they're award-winning. My students are in band and they have a great time. We have great teachers. They are very positive and enthusiastic about everything about those programs. So I just think that we need to look at the well-rounded, not just the academics. I wish there was a way that we could grade that the way that everybody wants to. But I think that the more we can encourage the children to do, explore all sorts of options, I think that's going to help them be better people outside of the school.
Candidates, thank you all for your perspectives and insights on the questions that we have presented this evening. To wrap up our time tonight, we return to the far end of the table and we will provide 1 minute to share a closing statement in the order that the candidates appear on the ballot. Mr. Bennett, you have 1 minute.
Okay, I'm going to say something, but before I do, I want to answer their questions. Is there any way that you can interject and just give a Q&A, let them ask us questions?
I apologize. We don't have time for that this evening, but there will be an opportunity for those in attendance to interact with you afterward.
Okay, well, there in a nutshell is my philosophy. How about that? I run a 501c4. I run multiple organizations, and every single one of them is predicated on finding out what people want and then coming up with solutions for them. So again, if you're going to, I'm running unopposed, so I'll be in this job. But if I go in this job and I don't hear from you, I'll be more than just disappointed. I will be distraught over the fact that I look to hope in people every day, and if you do anything to hurt that hope, I just won't be very happy with you. So I have a phone number I'm going to give you. I'm actually setting one up so that you can call me, and I will advertise that. Please don't call and cuss me out. But I want to hear from you. And if you have solutions, you have ideas, and I don't care what they are, if you don't call me and don't let me know, well, you have nobody to blame but yourself.
If you'd like to go into weather, you can have people call and cuss
No,
you
you
out.
and I are going to talk after this, man, because I got to get your contact, and we're going to work together on some other things. We already discussed.
Ms. Schaaf, you have 1 minute.
All of our students deserve success. And so we need to support all of our students. And that support needs to come from the family, the community, and that also needs to come from the community and our families supporting our educators. So it's a big circle, and we need to keep supporting each other and keep building these programs and ensuring the safety of all of our students. The reason that I am here is because I have students that are currently in this school. I have a lot of vested interest in making sure that this program and this district stays top notch, because I have kids in it, so I want them to succeed. I want your kids to succeed. I want your grandkids to succeed. So that is why I am running.
Thank you. Ms. Burhans, 1 minute.
So as I look ahead, I see that the district can anticipate many happy moments, but it also faces challenges as well, from attracting and retaining teachers to crafting required policies on cell phone usage, continued statewide financial challenges that raise concerns about budget stabilization factors and even rescissions we've seen in the past. We have ongoing challenges about maintaining academic excellence and ensuring student physical safety, mental health, and access to both academic and extracurricular opportunities. D38 has been an excellent school district. It provided an excellent educational experience for my son. I'm running to continue that tradition and improve that trajectory for every student, for their benefit, the benefit of the community, and the whole country. I have experience and dedication to address these issues, and I ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
1 minute goes a lot faster than 2 minutes. My producers would tell you I can't say my name and hello in a minute. So thank you for staying on time there.
What's your name?
Yeah.
You don't have time.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please give a round of applause to our candidates, Tim Bennett from Director District 1, Ginger Schaaf, and Jackie Burhans from Director District 3.
Thank you, everybody who attended here and online and participated. Appreciate that.
Could we also thank our students in attendance tonight, Sawyer Moore from Lewis Palmer High School and Shay Cox from Palmer Ridge High School. I'd also like to thank the staff that put all of the work into getting this ready tonight, getting our live stream ready, and to the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Corporation, and Visitor Center for hosting this evening. This is a reminder to support your community and vote November 4th in the El Paso County coordinated election. As I said earlier, the candidates will be around for individual questions. We thank you all for attending in person and online tonight, and have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.